So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the self-proclaimed godfather of the manosphere, Mr. Rollo Tomasi, better known, or who's actually originally known as George Miller here, that has gone berserk under the monetization, not deplatforming, and not any sunrise or anything like that of Fresh&Fit, and we're specifically talking about the monetization only, okay? And you see Mr. Miller here, the one that actually birthed a pageant daughter up in the state of Nevada, who's in her mid-20s by the name of Alana Miller here. He goes berserk. Basically a grown man that's up in his 50s, literally going berserk. That Fresh&Fit is no longer going to be able to make money off of the YouTube partner program indefinitely, right? After what's been going on based on their history and how they've been acting over the past couple years, after having numerous warnings regarding their behaviors, regarding false copyright strikes, regarding terms of service, community guidelines, all that shit, okay? They've been warned many a times, and because yet they fail to heed those warnings, and guess what happens? Boom! Unexpected demonetization. Now, let's hear what Mr. George here has to say.
But then you've got whose name I'm not going to mention right now, simply because I'm fairly certain that I'm suspicious, anyways, that perhaps he had a hand in this. Now he's not.
That I think he's probably referring to. And whatever is bleeping the name out of his mouth, like, what does he have to do with the whole demonetization of Fresh&Fit after they've been warned over the past couple of years? Right? What does he got to do with it? But I'm not going to even refer his name in because I don't know what their name is. But let's continue.
Admit to that. Nobody is. But again, as I said before, watch the personalities right now. Let them cool off a bit. And then see what they say. The same thing with like Kevin Samuels. When Kevin Samuels passed away, it was this, the women that hate.
But the thing is, why are you trying to compare Fresh&Fit's situation to the original godfather, mainly of the manosphere, mainly black manosphere, Kevin Samuels, who actually tragically passed away suddenly from cardiac arrest around May 5th, 2022. Why are you comparing Fresh&Fit's situation to that of Kevin Samuels if, God forbid, Fresh&Fit had, God forbid, Fresh&Fit had, some sort of crazy tragedy, If they had, some sort of tragedy or, God forbid, at least one of them passed away, that would have been a lot different. I would not even be celebrating, that tragedy. I would not be celebrating their passing at all. I'd actually be mute. I would give condolences to respective family members. But again, Fresh&Fit have only been demonetized from YouTube, which means they can still post on YouTube. They're still live on the platform as we speak today. They are still live, kicking and breathing, able to make decisions, able to correct however decisions they make within the rest of their lives, however they want to live. They're still alive to this day. Kevin Samuels, on the other hand, passed away. All right, he's no longer able to actually tell his story, unfortunately. And yeah, you got some sick demons literally trying to celebrate his death, in which he never even ordered anyone literally to be killed, or even pointed any guns or whatever weapons they have towards the woman they brought onto the show. Okay, all Kevin Samuels did was mainly tell women to actually lower their base, drop their expectations a bit when it comes to actually seeking dates and men and all that stuff, and basically letting women know if they choose to seek high value men, those are the expectations that a lot of them mainly set when it comes to image, weight, AIDS, the whole 9 yards. He was given realistic standards based on his past experience around hanging around with other high value men. Alright? Never made any threats, never even berated women from the beginning, never brought any women to random podcasts to literally try to belittle them and try to force the narrative literally down their throats. Alright? Fresh&Fit, even though want to try and make sure they trying to get the message out there when it comes to the whole master side of things, they did it in a wrong way. Myron was literally trying to pre-program on what he's going to say every single night to fuel and have towards these women, actually trying to spin the narrative out so he can literally try to generate more clout and more views so he can literally make more money over time. And because of the monetization based on his antics primarily, in which he literally acted an ass, not only he was being disrespectful towards mainly black people in general, but he was actually mainly being disrespectful and misogynistic towards literally women as a whole, and was literally acting an asshole to all these other content creators who come on his show and treated them like shit behind their backs. Okay? This dude is one conniving snake ass motherfucker. Okay? And God forbid if he passes away, I feel bummed out. You know, I wouldn't even celebrate the whole ordeal. I'll just react with indifference. But I will not be celebrating that type of stuff at all. The situation with Fresh&Fit and Kevin Samuels with those cases are absolutely incomparable. And to actually make it like take it a step further, Myron has allowed literally a bunch of folks to pull out guns twice. Actually, he was the one that actually pulled out a gun on camera on YouTube, literally trying to put behind the background in front of Allende. And then you see like a female guest within and actually screaming with bag for all these actual guns. And she tried to point a gun literally at DJ Academics over some crazy minor fight. High level ratchet Jerry Springer craziness, man. They are not the same whatsoever.
Kevin Samuels were dancing in the streets. Literally, I forget the name of the chick who was saying this, but like I think it happened on Mother's Day or just before Mother's Day.
It happened on a single named Maya Rollo.
And she was saying, it's an early Mother's Day gift from God that Kevin Samuels died.
And that woman is a sicko. That woman is literally a demon for saying that. And he never even threatened any woman's life, by the way.
That's the level of vitriol I want you to watch for about Fresh&Fit and about
Fresh&Fit is, again, is a different climate, is a different atmosphere, is a much different circumstance because they never passed away. Kevin Samuels mainly spoken their opinion. He lets women come onto his show and they call into his show seeking for his opinion, which he gave that they weren't even ready for, and some of them were literally ticked off and actually went berserk. You know what I mean? Fresh&Fit, again, they're trying to force a narrative to shoot their own wicked agendas and God knows how long. Primarily Myron. That's a different story. And again, Fresh&Fit have only been demonetized. They're still alive.
Everything else. When they go down, watch the celebrations. Watch who dances on the graves. Watch.
And one more thing. Kevin Samuels has never had his channel demonetized nor deplatformed at all. Especially after his passing. He did everything he could to actually make sure he stays image conscious to the best of his ability given the situation as a professional image consultant. You don't see any of the crazy controversies that actually roll around when it comes to Kevin Samuels. So they are not one and the same. They are incomparable, Roll.
As the ticker tape parades, right? Watch who takes their victory lap. But also, more importantly, watch the people who you thought were supporters. Suddenly they're like, well, you know, I hate that it's censorship. I hate that because this is going to be like everyone's.
It's never sensitive. It's never censorship, Rollo. It wasn't about censorship at all. It wasn't about free speech. Myron and Fresh and Chris have the right to do whatever they want to do on their own platform. And because they're literally up on a streaming site that they don't own, that they don't control with their own money, key phrase right there, okay? They're going to be vulnerable to literally getting deplatformed or kicked out at any given time for any reason because they don't control that streaming platform whatsoever. All right? YouTube has the right, and Rumble too. They have the right to literally try to kick them off at any given time at whatever type of points they're not really comfortable with. That platform either has the right to demonetize that content creator or eventually deplatform them, which is in their rights to do because they are a private company. They are a private industry. Laissez-faire. No government involvement. Right?
Juicy!
So they're within their rights to do whatever they want to do. But whatever decision that they choose to make, whether it's at will employment or if it's like self-employment and all that other stuff, when content creators come in as independent contractors, because I know the business of independent contracting since 2014. Once you're under the independent contractor rules, you gotta try and follow by their rules, guidelines, and contracts in order to make sure that you're in good standing with those streaming services. And even then, they can still kick you off for any given reason. And once that happens, if you do everything right and then you still get screwed over, you can still get them for a lawsuit, which at best, at worst, You could get like out of a potential settlement. At best, you actually get that streaming company out of business.
Sort of MO from here, because they want to like they don't want to seem like they were involved, but they'll say something like this. It's like, well, we're against censorship and we're against all this stuff and
And again, George here always keeps bringing this stuff about censorship and free speech. It was never about free speech. It was never about censorship. It was all about violating YouTube's terms and conditions. All about violating YouTube's terms of service. That's what it's mainly about.
We're against, we got to have an open platform and open discussions and stuff. But,
And even open platforms have rules as well, actually, how you deliver your message. Also. All right? Never forget that. Never forget that, George. All right? Actions always have repercussions, whether positive or negative.
I guess, in the long term, it's better that they're not around, because they were spreading misogyny and they were spreading hate and they were spreading whatever. The same thing they said about Kevin Samuels, the same thing they're going to say about Fresh and Fit, because that's what happened with Kevin. Once Kevin was gone, everybody was like, "Well, man, that's horrible. What a horrible occasion." But you know what? It's a net benefit that he's in the grave. That's some fucked up shit, quite honestly. That's like you want to talk about dehumanizing? That's dehumanizing. But that's where we're at. That's what these people are about.
But again, the situation with Fresh and Fit and Kevin Samuels are incomparable, because Kevin Samuels is no longer here to tell his story, and Fresh and Fit are still alive to actually tell theirs, and they're still on the YouTube platform. That's incomparable.
Sort of social media into this one massive global worldwide version of 4chan right now. When people
and they got Rumble,
they have some sort of anonymity. This is what they are. Become animals. And they will focus every bit of their OCD on you to try to and go to great lengths. Chess, at least 3D chess efforts to in some way try to find some way to bring you down. And that's really it's not the censorship. The censorship's going to be there no matter what. It's going to be there on mainstream TV. You can expect it to happen on mainstream TV. You can expect it to happen on larger platforms. Expect censorship. Expect to have your clips ruthlessly, taken out of context. You can expect, by the way, it's their game, right? I mean, I don't like to mention her name very often, but here's some advice to Pearl. Don't go on Piers Morgan anymore and say you're red pill, please. You're doing us all a disservice. We're all dumber for you having done that. And what happens is people will go and they'll think, oh, that's what it's really about. If you guys remember when I went on Dr. Phil and they brought that one kid on there now, whose name now escapes me, but before it was my turn to go and talk to Dr. Phil on the very first episode, they brought that guy on there to essentially characterize or mischaracterize the red pill. And the guy, literally, I talked to him after the show. I said, have you ever been prescribed with like Asperger's syndrome, or like, do you have any kind of autism or spectrum disorder or something like that? And he said, yeah.
And I personally have autism spectrum disorder as well, and I don't even fucking coincide with that nonsense that fucking Rolo is spewing. And what they're spewing with all this Matrix craziness and bullshit is pure art hypocrisy, because they mainly do not follow what they preach whenever they have like some real actually come by their way, whenever they come by like some real experience with real game and real mindset, and other people that actually try to specifically challenge their points and dissect to the T. They got nothing else to literally counter them on.
I'm like, yeah, they brought him on there specifically to flavor and color what the red pill's really about. And I'm happy to say that I went in there and kicked ass, but that was the point. And so when Piers Morgan brings on Pearl, it's not to have a conversation. It's so she gets to be the that's sitting in the chair on Dr. Phil.
Nah, it's really to have like an open conversation. I get it with mainstream media. They literally have their own narratives, just like you trying to have your own narrative as well, with like no thorough open discussion. We know your game.
That's the role you get to play in the big high chair, and what's the red pill about? Like, that's what they want. That's the characterization that they want, so they can dismiss it and move on. Well, these guys
on a conservative network, mind you, unlike an actual conservative TV host, mind you, which y'all basically actually preach about conservatism and all that other stuff, right?
The sharpest, knives in the drawer. That's what they're trying to, and they won't laugh and they won't say, the medium is the message. Yes, you're right. The whole thing about, making an example of this person. That's what they want. And they want people, that's the public perception that they want. And they think, maybe falsely so for Dr. Phil, but maybe not Piers Morgan, there is a definite agenda.
But what is and I know he's trying to speak for the whole red pill mainly as a whole. Right? But what does Dr. Phil and what does Piers Morgan literally have to do with Fresh and Fit violating the terms and conditions on YouTube? Right? The moral of the story of the whole ordeal, like what we can all learn from this, is literally there's nothing wrong with talking about those issues. You have to literally try to move smarter and actually speak more discreetly about it so that there's minimal triggering involved.
You censor that. And part of that censorship is putting you up for public ridicule. That's how they do it.
And notice George keeps bringing up the word censorship. It's not about censorship, Rolo.
So if they can make you ridiculous, they can make your whole message or whatever that happens to be ridiculous. They can make your brand ridiculous. So if they can't actually take your bread, they can make.
But you can also make your brand literally ridiculous as well for literally acting an ass, making yourself vulnerable to the Matrix and all these other mainstream outlets that want to try to disseminate what you do. So you have to literally move smart and you have to literally move discreet whenever you actually talk to those types of points. And have used rational logic and reasoning, which many of y'all failed to do, by the way.
Ridiculous that your bread is less forthcoming, let's just say. And they're coming for everybody, including, her, including me, including lots of other people as well. In fact, I will point out here that this is the expressed agenda of guys with blue hair.
Oh yeah, I know what they're talking about. I know what George is talking about. George is mainly talking about destiny, right? Because he literally dissected your points and he actually gave you a simple question what your opinion on this high value man, but yet you actually deflected the question and steered away from your own opinion what a high value man is. And they actually challenged you on the tweet that you literally presented when it comes to that vasectomy comment that Destiny and Sneagle mainly checked you on, and because you refused to answer the question that you so skirt around it, whenever you got pressed, you end up literally acting like an ass as a 55-year-old literally down the line.
And we're going to take out the biggest guys in the manosphere. That was expressly the design of all of this. So when I see Myron...
Y'all took yourselves out. Y'all made yourself vulnerable. Y'all being very contradictive based on the points that you mainly say, and you're not following what you preach. That's why a lot of people literally poking the holes on your statements about what you said up on social media.
Fresh, get demonetized and get their bread taken away. I can only look one way. I can only go, well, who was talking about, bringing them down? Who was talking about bringing MLD down? Who was talking about bringing Donovan Sharp down?
They brought themselves down because they made themselves contradictory, right? Their actions in the past really exposed them for literally who they are and made them contradictory because they don't fully practice what they preach.
He was talking about bringing me down, trying to find dirt on me and then manufacturing dirt.
You already had dirt because you already exposed yourself, George. All right? You have no whereabouts. You don't have no thorough research on what you're mainly finding when it comes to your book, The Rational Man, when it comes to certain statistics, especially with like the female SMV chart that you didn't really fully thoroughly articulate with like the sample size of how many women you actually partook and how many men you actually partook up in that graph, and where did that graph when did that graph mainly take place, and when did you develop that modeling? How long have you did it for, and how long have you built it? Or did you get it from like some sort of red pill fortune or whatever PWA stat that's ridiculously loose based off of pseudoscience, and you just made like some random guesstimate on what some woman's SMV is based on your personal opinion, but not any credible sources to literally back up your claim. Hey, coming from a well-experienced and actually well-versed in engineering and mathematics, who's actually been involved in mathematics for a very long time, and I could easily try to dig through some of your graphs. I could easily just sniff through some of your bullshit. You being the actual irrational male of the manosphere that you truly are, Mr. George.
We're trying to, anyways. What do they want to hide? What do they want to? What do they want you not to know? And I literally am watching videos of the blue-haired kid talking about how he basically admitting to what his MO is, which is create a bunch of lies and mix in some truth in that, so that the lies are more convincing than the truth that's in there. So that when you get when whoever your victim is or whoever your opponent is gets pilloried or vilified for those lies, it also makes the case, any case that he could say against those truths, less believable. God. Literally, that's what he was saying. So I can only.
And do you have proof on that he actually said that? Do you actually have visual video evidence on Destiny making that claim? That's what I want to know, Mr. George.
Look one way. When I realized that you don't just arbitrarily get your channel demonetized, there would have had to have been a third strike.
No, they actually demonetized Fresh and Fit. If it actually was a third strike, Fresh and Fit actually would have been deplatformed from YouTube. The reason why they actually got demonetized is that YouTube actually saw Fresh and Fit actually off the YouTube platform, literally acting an ass and literally acting like hardcore sellouts, literally being disrespectful towards not just black people as a whole, but also Jewish people. When the moment they brought in Nick Fuentes, doing all these crazy conspiracy theory nonsense that they have, straying away from the original mission that actually wanted to help men in game, fitness, finances. You stray away from that and actually really trying to focus on straight conspiracy theory politics, that is irrelevant towards male self-improvement.
Who reported that strike?
It wasn't a strike, Rolo. YouTube actually demonetized Fresh and Fit because of what they saw, with all the stuff they did in Rumble that ended up shared up on the platform, and the people up in YouTube want nothing to do with that. They don't want their image and reputation being tarnished because of primarily Myron's antics on the Fresh and Fit podcast. All right, it was never a strike, Rolo, because if it was a strike, if it was a strike that's actually been taken down, they would have been deplatformed already. Now, technically, when you have a strike within the community guidelines, and I've learned this because I got affected by a warning, when you get hit with a community guidelines strike, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot really post anything on YouTube for a week. And yes, it's possible that monetization could be at risk. You could be at the mercy of that, and you could get demonetized within those things. But you got 3 strikes. After your 3rd strike, your channels could be at risk for termination or deplatformization. Your channel could be deplatformed, right? That's how the YouTube community guidelines system mainly work.
I don't know who. I'm not saying I can't name names, but someone did. So what I'm asking my audience and their audience and anyone else, who's part of this sphere, who has been part of this niche for a long time, I'm just saying, keep an eye out. And if you're an influencer, even if you're red pill adjacent, this is coming for you. This could happen to you. This could happen to me. This could happen to any.
And yes, deplatforming can happen to anybody. We definitely do agree. Which is why you gotta do the best you can to oblige by the social platforms, rules, and regulations to the best way you know how. And if you're not comfortable dealing with that, don't post on YouTube. Go to Rumble. Go to X. All right, go over there, or build your own social media platform. Build your own website, so you don't have to be vulnerable to all the craziness that YouTube could bring.
Else, your bread will be taken away, and it won't be by your employer. It'll be by some autistic 15-year-old.
No, it definitely will be taken away by your employer, George. You got it all fucked up. It will be actually taken away by your employer. The social platform that you're on is your employer. You're just an independent contractor for that employer. You're just like the employee version of the independent contractor over there. If you built your own site, if you build your own streaming platform, this would not be an issue.
Child who doesn't like you. You're old. Let's mass report him.
And again, like what George is mainly doing, he's deflecting for the whole situation. Based on what happened with Fresh and Fit over the past 4 years. He's doing everything he can to defend Fresh and Fit to due to the fact that he needs their viewership. He needs those views to really come by his channel, so he can really try to promote his new book and actually try to boost his own clout as well. he don't really care that much about men either. He trying to like to lure young, naive, insecure men till he try to lure them up in his court so they could literally try to get sucked into his narrative, so he could literally try to leech you and exploit you financially.
Let's try to get him on something. Oh, you're fresh and fit. You're making money hand over fist. Oh, look at Fresh. He's driving around in this brand new, Rolls Royce.
And again, there's nothing wrong with all the stuff that they have. Again, it's not about the materials that they have. It's all about how they deliver the message. They were not smart in delivering the message at all, and how they did it.
Let's get him. It's schoolyard, middle school, adolescent social skill sets is what it is.
Cap.
So when people say next time you hear somebody say what is it? The Lost Boys generation, they have no purpose. No, they have a purpose. Their purpose is to fuck with you. That's what their entire lives are, is to fuck with you. So keep that in mind. If you're a red pill, if you want to I want to get into doing a blog. Oh God. I want to get into doing a video podcast. Hey, come on my podcast, Rolo. Hey, I got this new Red Pill podcast. We talk about the stuff you do. Will you come on? No, I won't. And not because I'm being a dick. I would love to go on your podcast. I don't care if you have 2,000 followers. I'd love to go on your podcast. I can't trust anyone right now. And I'm not going to trust anyone. Probably for a while. Unless I've worked with you in the past, probably. So, Jason Hartman, I'll do your show. But,
Yes. We ain't gonna deal with no more of that right now. George here, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very, very desperate to literally keep that little stick going so they can literally try to continue his little grift on preying on young, naive, insecure men that don't really know how to actually get by up in the social world, which is literally a sin and a shame. Again, when you're under a social media platform, it's like you're working for an employee at a job, right? When you come out of that job and you literally start acting an ass, and that job really finds out what the heck you're doing, literally to an extreme, that job or even that company or even that business or even customers, if you work for yourself, may not want to try and affiliate with what you're doing, and they immediately may want to dip out, and you could be either losing some money in the process when it comes to the latter, or you actually get fired on a dime because you're costing that business money, okay? You're trying to stain their reputation. If they can have their reputation stained, if they literally stay up in there literally too long, okay? So again, actions have repercussions, as we actually stated before, and the situation with all these other red pill gurus that's there. I know Rolo, he's actually going to try and be a bit smooth, but he literally further acts an ass and literally goes berserk and actually go on some crazy full tirade, so much so it can try to do some extremely discriminatory stuff literally off the platform, but yeah, it actually does it on like a different streaming site. There's a very strong chance that he could get either demonetized or deplatformed, or both. Who knows, right? Let me take it back. Either demonetized or deplatformed, okay? It could be like a very strong chance that he could get hit, as well as Donovan Sharp, Siegel really got hit, Pearl Davis, John Circa. If they get way too reckless on what the fuck they're doing, right? Because not only are you literally representing yourself and your image, you're actually representing the image of the company that you literally work in. So this is why you literally have to be careful when you're up in this platform, when you're up on the YouTube, when you're up on the Rumble. You have a main responsibility to protect your image and your reputation by any means necessary. And it all starts with how you act, how you behave, and how you treat people with the proper respect. Treat folks with the same level of respect as you do to your parents, as you do to your other family members, and you will not have this crazy ass problem whatsoever. Whereas if you literally become arrogant like Mr. George over here, or like Amrou, Walt, Aaron, okay, Edwin, okay, Johnny Boy over there as well, when you act an ass like those guys, as well as Hannah Pearl here, it could be a very strong chance that you could literally end up either in Fresh and Fit shoes, or at worst, be in a position like Sneeko and the Tates. At worst, you could be potentially hit with criminal charges. And if the Tates get found guilty, depending on the situation they mainly have in, and they get sentenced, God forbid, there could be a chance that, the CEO could actually be either demonetized or actually the platform those tapes on Rumble due to the fact that could literally stain their brand with potential conservative advertisers there that don't even allow that type of stuff and all that alt-right stuff to literally go out to the extreme. Alright? So with that being said, Christian Paul from the Nerd Chronicles is signing out. Beyond insane. Juicy!